Welcome to NFL Imperialism. You may have seen this concept floating around YouTube, but I wanted to put my own spin on it and hopefully improve it. Before we get started, I humbly ask that you take a moment to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button. This is going to be a series, and this channel has some other videos as well, sports related, entertainment related. We do a lot here, trying to grow the audience. We appreciate the fact that you're here right now. We ask that you continue to stay with us. Please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. If you're interested in a full, thorough breakdown of how this imperialism works, please check out the first 3 minutes or so of the 1966 video, which is linked in the description below. Otherwise, we are ready to start. Our 10th season of imperialism brings us to the 1975 season. This is now 6 years after the AFL-NFL merger, and the conference strength has now spread out, and both conferences give us opportunities to crown imperialism champion. This is denoted by the fact that the last two champions have come from the AFC. All that said, 1975 Super Bowl champion was indeed the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second straight season coming out of the AFC. They defeated the Dallas Cowboys in that game. Will these two teams be there in the end? Who will win Imperialism 10? Here is a list of teams that have a great opportunity. The Steelers rank number 1. We have a lot of the usual suspects in here. Rams, Vikings, Dolphins. The Colts have a big bounce back season, get into the top 5. You will notice that the Cowboys, NFC champions, are not in this top 5. Unfortunately for those teams in the bottom 5, lots of usual suspects there as well. But as we like to say, anything can happen in imperialism, and the only way to crown a champion is to get this thing started. We will kick things off with our very first spin of the wheel. That's going to be a close call, and it's going to actually hit the Raiders. Unbelievable. Arrow goes southeast. So the story in 1974 was that the Raiders were never called on. The wheel never landed on them, and no one ever invaded them. Now here in 1975, they go right into things. They have to travel to LA to play the number 2 team Rams. Can the defending champion be taken down in the very first game? The Raiders take a 7-3 halftime lead into the third quarter, but they can't stop turning the ball over, and the Rams take advantage here. Jim Bertelston runs in for the touchdown. That's going to make it 10-7, the Rams lead. Here on the ensuing kickoff, returner Mike Siani immediately fumbles. Jack Reynolds forces it. The Rams pick it up, run it back in for the touchdown. That is safety Bill Simpson. And it went from 7-3 to 7-17 very quickly. The Rams win the game 23-14, knocking out the reigning imperialism champion in the very first game. So looking here at the map, we saw that the Raiders maintained their position the entire time last season. No more. The Rams will take over their territory and take over dominion of Central California. We are officially guaranteed a new imperialism champion here in 1974. The wheel selects the Chargers. We stay out on the West Coast. And they go southeast, and as has become their custom, they're going to expand into the state of Arizona. After our first expansion, we will get the wheel going one more time. That's going to land on the Giants. Arrow's going to take them directly west. That's going to send them into eastern Pennsylvania. We're going to get a classic NFC East matchup right off the bat. Giants at Eagles coming up next. The Eagles bring a 7-3 lead into the fourth quarter. From the 25, the handoff goes to Tom Sullivan up the middle, and he is untouched. Makes one move and gets all the way through. That's going to put the Eagles up 14-3. The Giants aren't quite done yet. They move the ball down the field. There's under a minute to go. From the 2-yard line, it's first and goal. They hand off to Joe Dawkins. He gets into the end zone, so it's going to come down to an onside kick here. The Giants trail 14-10. This will be their only hope. The kick goes off. The ball is free, but it's recovered by the Eagles. That's going to be our final score. The Eagles beat the Giants 14-10. So because we're in the east, specifically in the northeast, these are small land acquisitions, but they're important nonetheless. The Eagles take over northern New Jersey, continue on in imperialism while knocking the Giants out. Where will the wheel be taking us next? It is going to be landing on the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow's going to head east, so they're going to face their in-state rival Houston Oilers. That game is going to be in Houston. Although I suppose it could have been on the moon and it wouldn't have mattered. Here the Cowboys have a second down in the third quarter, leading by 21. The touchdown pass goes to Drew Pearson. They control this game throughout, mostly through the run game. They got the touchdown here in the air. 31-3 is the score, and the final will be 38-10. So the Cowboys will knock the Oilers out of the game, and the Lone Star State now has a Lone Star sitting in the middle of it. We're going to do a little expansion run here. We're going to get the Bills first. Arrow's going to take them to the east. That's going to grab the state of Vermont. Next up are the Packers, just barely. Goes slightly southwest, photo finish, takes us to Iowa. Next up will be the Patriots. Arrow goes to the west a little bit, but enough to grab Connecticut. Now we have the Vikings. We're going to go to the west. That's going to grab South Dakota. Another one here will be the Bengals, again just barely. Arrow goes a little bit to the southeast for the state of Kentucky. And on this next spin, we're going to have the Steelers. Arrow's going to take them north. That's going to be a gain. Going straight north, we'll take them into the state of New York and the Buffalo Bills territory. We're going to do that game right now. The Steelers lead this game 17-10 in the fourth quarter. The Bills bring the defense up. The Steelers respond with an audible of their own, sending their receivers out. Terry Bradshaw sits back, finds Rocky Bleier, taken off toward the end zone. Larry Brown, tight end, makes an incredible block to pave the way for the touchdown. That block was something else. That gives the Steelers a 24-10 lead. That's going to be our final score. And for the second straight season, the Bills aren't able to handle the Steelers. So, after all that expansion, we're going to get more expansion, but in the form of a victory. The Steelers will take the Bills' place on the map and swing their land around from western Pennsylvania into Long Island. Back to the wheel we go, where we will be seeing the Dallas Cowboys. Arrow's going to go east with a slight dip south, but not enough of a dip to avoid playing the Saints. The last time these two teams played, the Cowboys won 67-0. Let's see what the Saints have in store this time. Well, it was closer this time, 20-0 entering the fourth, 27-0 now, and with this pitch to Preston Pearson, it becomes 34-0. Once again, the Cowboys get the blowout, and just for kicks, because why not, they added a pick six before the game was over. 41-0 is the final. They scored more than half their points in the fourth quarter, but once again get the shutout, eliminating the Saints. Looking at the map, the Cowboys during this period of NFL history have the advantage of geography. The Oilers and Saints, their two closest teams, aren't exactly world beaters, but they're getting the job done. The Saints are out. The Cowboys take over the state of Louisiana, and for the time being, enter isolation. We've now eliminated 5 teams here in 1975. We'll look to see if we can get a game here. The 49ers get landed on. They will go southeast, and that will just clip the Rams' territory. So the Rams are going to take the field for the second time. This time they'll be hosting the 49ers. The 49ers offense was basically non-existent in this one. The Rams didn't do much, but they did enough. This 19-yard touchdown run by Lawrence McCutcheon takes them to a 14-3 lead in the fourth quarter. And that's all she wrote. Nothing else was needed. That will be our final score. The Rams win the game 14-3. That is now the Rams' second victory in 1975 Imperialism. They take over the rest of Northern California, knocking the 49ers out and expanding their land. We head back to the old wheel to see what the next team is going to be. It's going to be the Chicago Bears. The arrow's going to take them to the southeast. That's actually going to hit the state of Indiana. So the Bears will take over that state and expand their territory. Let's try this wheel one more time, see if we can get a game going. It's going to land on the Rams. They're very popular early on here. But that's going east. They're not going to play a game here. They're going to enter into the state of Nevada. and expand their land. The third time is the charm, or so we hope, on this wheel. And we're going to go back to the Bears. We just saw them expand. This time, though, they're going to be entering the Cincinnati Bengals territory. So the Bengals will now host the Bears in our next game. The Bears were not able to keep up with the high-flying Bengals offense. Here from the goal line, they pitch it to Linville Elliott. Gets away from a tackler, dives into the end zone for the touchdown for good measure. The Bengals were able to move the ball through the air with almost ease. Final score of this game was 28-7. Bengals didn't see the need to do anything in the fourth quarter, and they were able to walk away with that score. So looking at the map here, after the Bengals expanded and the Bears expanded, the Bengals, by acquiring what the Bears have themselves a nice overall chunk of land. Moving right along here in 1975 Imperialism, the wheel will select the Miami Dolphins. The arrow's going to take them slightly to the northwest, that is directly onto the Falcons. So the Falcons will get yet another chance to try to beat Miami. The Falcons have had to settle for a couple of field goals, but only trailed by one here late in the second half. Pitch goes to Dan Hampton, makes a nice run, gets inside the 30. That will set up kicker Nick Mayer for a 2-point lead if he can make this kick. Lines it up from 48 yards out, and well, he didn't bury it, but he made it. Falcons lead 16-14 at the half. Here now in the second half, the Dolphins waste no time. Get into the red zone, the pass goes to Howard Twilley for the touchdown. Now the Dolphins have taken the lead back. With the extra point, it is now 21-16 Miami, but Atlanta doesn't plan on going away. From the 40-yard line, rookie quarterback, number 1 overall pick, Steve Bartkowski, fires deep to Alfred Jenkins, catches it in stride, and just like that now, the Falcons score a touchdown and retake the lead, 23-21. Now it's Miami's turn to respond from their own 48. Handoff goes to Don Nottingham and he fumbles. The ball's loose and it's picked up by the Falcons. He's going to threaten to run this all the way back, but he does not. Leads to a field goal, 26-21. Now Miami trying to come back again. Greasy throws to Freddie Solomon, and that's Roland Lawrence streaking in to make the interception. Unbelievable. Very first play of this drive now. Bartkowski drops back. Throws it to Isaiah Stanback. That is a first down. If they score a touchdown here, this is going to be game. It is now 3rd and 14. From the 16, Bartkowski has some options, but he dumps it off to Hampton, and he will be stopped, I think. There he goes. Here comes the field goal for an 8-point lead. The pressure comes, but the kick gets off, and it's good. 29-21. Miami can still come back and tie this with a touchdown and a 2. It's 3rd and 4. Big pressure comes. Greasy escapes, throws to Mercury Morris, incomplete. 4th down. The Falcons look like they're going to bring the house. They do, and they get to Greasy. He hasn't gone down yet. There he goes. Folks, it's happened. If you've been following Imperialism, you will know that the Falcons and Dolphins have matched up every single season we've done this, beginning in 1966. And every season, the Dolphins have won. Here now, the Falcons, 29-21 victors over their hated rival, at least in Imperialism, Miami Dolphins. Looking now at the map, we have seen this map, the southeastern corner, the Florida Peninsula, turn aqua every time. It now turns Falcon black. The Falcons move on, the Dolphins are out, and the Falcons enter a period of isolationism. After all that excitement, we head back to the wheel. It's going to be close. It's going to be the Baltimore Colts. Arrow's going to take them slightly southwest. Their proximity to the Washington Redskins will mean that's going to be our next game. Washington's looking to avenge the loss they took in last season's Imperialism. They're off to a good start here. This is Billy Kilmer floating the ball into the end zone. Charlie Taylor makes the catch in coverage. That extends the Redskins' lead to 28-7, and it was back and forth all the way for the rest of the game. 49-24 is our final score. Looking here at the map, the Colts' invasion of Washington was unsuccessful. The Redskins take over the state of Maryland, and for the second straight game, we have lost a team from the top 5. A quick round of expansion here. St. Louis Cardinals will head south into the state of Arkansas. Next up will be the Falcons in isolation, going west into Alabama. And now the Patriots will head to the southeast into Rhode Island. Next up are the Chiefs. They head south into Arkansas, which is now Cardinals territory. That's going to be our next game, Chiefs at Cardinals. A sluggish, scoreless first half gave way to some points in the second. Cardinals lead 14-7 in the fourth quarter. That's fullback Jim Otis making a nice catch in the end zone for the touchdown, extending the Cardinals lead to 21-7. They would tack on one more. Our final score is St. Louis 28, Kansas City 7 in this extended battle of Missouri. As we see here, the Cardinals did already take the state of Arkansas. Kansas City tried to invade it, couldn't do it. So the Cardinals will take the Chiefs out and take over western Missouri and expand their land. We have now eliminated 10 teams. We got 16 remaining. One of those teams is the Lions. They get called on for the first time. Arrow's going to take them directly south into the area of the Cincinnati Bengals. That's going to be our next game, and it's going to be in Cincinnati. The Bengals are driving in the third quarter, leading 10-3. Ken Anderson drops back, looks for Charlie Joyner with a perfectly placed ball over the outstretched arms of the defender. Charlie Joyner scores the touchdown, 17-3. The Bengals defense also came to play in this one. A 27-6 final. They won the game fairly easily. Looking at the map here, it's a rarity for Detroit to be one and done. They've won exactly 3 games each of the last 3 seasons, but here in 1975, they're done. The Bengals will take over their land, and all of a sudden now the Bengals look like they could be a sneaky threat to win this thing. It's expansion time, got a few to go through. First, the Packers, southwest into Nebraska. Next up, we have the Broncos. They will head north into Wyoming. Next will be the Falcons, barely. They will go a little bit to the west. That's going to be Mississippi. Next up are the Falcons again. This time we'll go northeast into South Carolina. Now we have, it's going to be close, it's the Steelers. Northeast into New Hampshire. The wheel will now give us, it's close again, the Vikings. Going to the north, that's going to be North Dakota. Now we have the Broncos for a second time in this round. Northwest into Idaho. Next up on the wheel will be the Bengals. They're going to head northwest. That's going to be a game now. So after all that, the Bengals are going to be on the field in back-to-back games. They're heading to Green Bay to face the Packers. After a slow start, the Bengals now lead 14-5 here in the fourth quarter. The Packers desperately need a stop here. Anderson throws it to Charlie Joyner. What a throw by Ken Anderson. What a catch by Charlie Joyner. The Bengals take a 21-5 lead. Green Bay score late to no avail. 21-11 will be our final score. Safeties and missed 2-point conversions will give us some fun scores like this. So, the map itself here looks a lot more filled in after all that expansion. But the Bengals now will take over the Packers' territory, and they have an interesting strip of land themselves. And again, they are establishing themselves as a potential dark horse. Let's give this wheel another spin. It's going to land on the Falcons. They've been landed on quite a bit. Arrow goes to the northeast. That's going to be an expansion. The state of North Carolina now belongs to the Falcons. We'll try this one more time. And one more time, the Falcons. Unbelievable how many times. But they're going to keep expanding. That's going north. That's going to catch the northeast corner of Tennessee. Another expansion for the Falcons. Might we land on the Falcons for a third straight time? Doesn't look like it. This is going to get just past the Patriots to the Redskins. Arrow's going to the northwest. That's going to just clip the southwest corner of eastern Pennsylvania, which belongs to the Eagles. NFC East matchup coming right up. The Eagles' offense couldn't do squat. Their defense wasn't bad, but didn't do quite enough. Here in the fourth quarter, play action, Billy Kilmer fires into the end zone. That's an easy, wide-open touchdown. The Redskins will extend their lead to 23-3. That is actually going to be our final score. The Redskins went from winning Imperialism back-to-back seasons to struggling for a couple of seasons, but they may be making their comeback now. They beat the Eagles, they take their land, and they expand their territory. We've now eliminated half of the NFL's 26 teams. Next up on the wheel will be the Steelers. Arrow's going to go to the southeast. That's going to hit the Redskins' territory, setting up what looks to be a heavyweight matchup. Well, not quite. The Steelers ran the ball all over the Redskins. This first half touchdown pass from Terry Bradshaw to Lynn Swann made a nice move there to get into the end zone. Made it 17-3 at halftime. The teams exchanged touchdowns in the second half. Pittsburgh will win the game 24-9, and the champs still live. Looking at the map here, the Redskins got themselves a nice bit of area, but the Steelers will now take that over, and except for the presence of the Patriots and the Jets, are the team in the Northeast. We continue to dwindle down these teams. The wheel's going to land on the Jets for the first time. It's either take Delaware or play the Steelers. That's north. They're playing the Steelers. Let's see what happens. The Jets are trying to hang with the Steelers. They're down 27-14 in the third quarter. This handoff goes to Franco Harris, turns the corner. That size and speed combination just too much. Glides into the end zone for the touchdown. The Jets tried. The Steelers take the lead here, 34-14. The final score will be 44-17. It's a little closer than the final score might indicate, but an easy Steeler victory nonetheless. Taking a look at the map here, the Steelers aren't taking a whole lot of land. Northern New Jersey will fall. Only the Patriots now stand in the way in the Northeast, and only the Browns have not been called upon under any circumstance. We haven't had a close game in a while. Let's see if the wheel wants to give us one of those. The Rams are selected. Arrow takes them slightly southeast. A little bit further would have hit the Chargers' territory, but this will be an expansion into the state of Utah. We try the wheel again, and we're going to stay out west. That's going to be the San Diego Chargers. We're going to go north, so that Rams-Chargers game we almost got on the last spin, we're going to get on this one. But this time, the game's going to be in LA. Early in the fourth quarter, the Rams lead 21-6 from the 2-yard line. The handoff goes to Jim Bertelsen, and he bullies his way into the end zone. The Chargers did the best they could. They really couldn't get on the board on this one. 34-6 will be our final. So again, not a close game in this one. However, for the Rams, this looks good for them because that Charger territory now falls to them, and they own all of the southwestern portion of the country. We are now down to our final 10 teams in 1975. We're going to get the Dallas Cowboys here, and the arrow's going to go east. So, for the first time in any Imperialism, the Falcons will be taking the field against somebody other than the Miami Dolphins. Their task, the team with the most wins throughout all Imperialisms, the Dallas Cowboys. Let's see how this one shakes out. The Cowboys receive the opening kickoff. Golden Richards goes down quickly, but the other problem is this injury right here to Atlanta's Tommy Nobis, their best defensive player. Dallas capitalized on that drive, scored a touchdown. Here Dallas in the third quarter, a pick six on the goal line. Everything fell apart for Atlanta. The next kickoff, he's wrapped up immediately, eventually fumbles. That's scooped up and run back in for a touchdown by Dallas. Everything just fell apart for Atlanta. Nobis' injury is not why they lost, but it certainly set in motion everything that took place. 56 7-6. Another Dallas blowout, another 1975 blowout. So looking at the map here, the Cowboys are now going to take complete control over the Gulf Coast, have the southern portion of the eastern seaboard, and it seems likely that a showdown with the Steelers, which would be a Super Bowl X rematch, is inevitable. The Cowboys, Bengals, Steelers, and Rams have all won exactly 3 games. The Cowboys are being called up now. They're being sent to the Northeast, and that's going to hit the Bengals, who have also won 3 games. This is going to be a big one here. The Cowboys have beaten up on lesser competition, while the Bengals have a chance to really prove themselves. What's going to happen in this game? This is the opening play of the game. The Cowboys have the ball at the 30-yard line. The pitch goes to Preston Pearson, and he's fighting, and the ball's loose. Marvin Cobb forces the fumble. The Bengals pick it up, and they're going to run it in for the touchdown. That is a remarkable start for the Bengals. They lead 7-0. Defensive lineman Ken Johnson with the touchdown. The Cowboys, though, they're not going to go away too easily. 3rd and 8 now. Roger Staubach drops back, throws, and it's intercepted by Ken Riley. Unfortunately, the Bengals couldn't do anything with the ball. The Cowboys get it back, drive it down. The pitch to Pearson makes up for the fumble by scoring the touchdown, knotting things up at 7 right as the first quarter is about to expire. We now move on to the second quarter. The Cowboys have the ball inside the 40-yard line. Play action pass to throw to Golden Richards. He makes a great catch. What a play. That is 23 yards. A few plays later, they've got 1st and goal at the 2-yard line. Staubach drops back, throws it to fullback Robert Newhouse. The Bengals jumped out to a lead, but the Cowboys have now made up for it. Lead 14-7. It's now 14-10. Late in the third quarter, the Bengals bring the defense forward. Staubach drops back, throws it to Drew Pearson, cuts inside, and gets down to the 6-yard line. Now in the fourth quarter, we've switched sides. It's 3rd and 9. The Cowboys want to put this game away. The throw to Pearson is intercepted by Ken Riley in the end zone, his 2nd of the game. Might this be the turnaround the Bengals need? They're now down to 2nd and 20. Ken Anderson drops back, throws to Isaac Curtis, makes a great catch and another great tackle behind it by Mark Washington. The drive continues, 2nd and 1 from the 5. Anderson drops back, holds, looks, fires to tight end Bob Trumpy. And the Bengals now have retaken the lead with the extra point at 17-14. What can the Cowboys do? They're now inside the 40 again. 3rd and 11. Staubach dumps it off, and it's intercepted again by Ken Riley. And there he goes. They're not gonna catch him. Ken Riley with his 3rd interception. This one a pick 6. Gives the Bengals the 24-14 lead. And that is going to be our final score. The come-from-behind win. An upset in name, but not really. This was a good Bengals team. They went 11-3 in 1975. They get this win. So now looking at this map, all that land that the Cowboys have will now be added to all the land the Bengals have. They stretch from Nebraska all the way down to Florida, wrap around to Texas. They're the first team to win 4 games this season. They're not a dark horse anymore. They have to be considered an outright favorite. So much for that preordained Cowboys-Steelers game. The Bengals took care of that. The Cardinals get called up on the wheel this time. Arrow goes southeast, and the Bengals are coming right back at it. They will be hosting the Cardinals and looking to keep their momentum alive. The Bengals are forced into a punt on their opening drive. Dave Green was holding the ball for way too long, and he gets tackled. Trick play gone wrong? Can't tell. But the Cardinals get the ball, they move it downfield. Jim Hart drops back, throws to Mel Gray, and it's picked off by Bernard Jackson. Breaks a tackle, breaks another. Weaving in and out, looking like Ed Reed out there. Turns on to speed, and the Bengals defense is going to do it again. They did it against the Cowboys. They've done it here now. 7-0, the first points on the board, put up by the Bengals defense. The Cardinals will look to respond. They've driven the ball down past the 40-yard line. Handoff goes to Jim Otis, gets wrapped up, and that ball is out. Ken Riley picks him off, forces fumbles. The Bengals now have it up 7-0. They're forced into another punt. Then Dave Green's holding the ball again. Tries to get the punt away, but it's blocked. Problems with punting here. The Cardinals take it on the first play. Jim Hart drops back, looks for his Hall of Fame tight end, Jackie Smith. Makes the catch, tackled inside the 1. First play of the second quarter. The comeback pattern, receiver Earl Thomas, touchdown. The Bengals special teams are hurting them as much as their defense is helping. It's now 7-7. Since he looks to respond, they're down inside the 25. Play action. Ball fired. Charlie Joyner. Great throw, great catch. Having Joyner on the other side of Isaac Curtis really increases this offensive output. 14-7 Cincy. Now St. Louis looking to respond. They're almost at midfield. It's still 14-7. Handoff to Jim Otis, trying to make up for that fumble. Dragging the defense. Picks up 31 yards. They're at the edge of the red zone. Very next play. The second quarter is almost winding down. Dumping it off to running back Terry Metcalf. Look at the moves. He backpedals into the end zone. Whew. This is turning into quite a game here. 14-14. There's still some time left in the half. The Bengals are going to try to do something. This is quite the distance to go, but they can do it. Ken Anderson throws the slant to Joyner. Extends for the catch. Fighting for more yards. They finally get him down. 2 seconds to go. That's an injury to Charlie Joyner. That might change things here for the Bengals. In the second half, Cardinals have the ball. Motion. Jim Hart throws the slant to Metcalf. That's a running back, folks. Gets it all the way down to the 1-yard line. Very next play, Jim Hart looks, throws to fullback Otis for the touchdown. And just like that, the Cardinals have the lead, and the Bengals are going to be missing Charlie Joyner in this half. Can they do this? They've crossed midfield. It's 2nd and 4. Ken Anderson drops back, throws to Boobie Clark, fullback. He can break some tackles, and he gets it all the way down to the 17-yard line. It's now 3rd and 14. The Bengals need this here. Very little time left in the third. Forcing the pass to Isaac Curtis. It's picked off. Not having Charlie Joyner is killing this team right now. Roger Warely makes the pick. That's a Hall of Famer too. Now the Cardinals from their own 20-yard line. The pass goes to Mel Gray. Goes up and gets it. The Cardinals now have the fourth quarter to try to put this game away. They still lead 21-14. 3rd and 9. The Bengals bring the house, and they get to Hart. That's Ron Carpenter with the sack. They will force the punt here. Cardinals punter Jeff West gets off a bad punt. Marvin Cobb receives it, running it back, and they're actually going to get more yardage here than if the Cardinals had gone for it and missed. 2nd and 1. The Bengals looking to tie the game. Play action. Delayed pattern by Isaac Curtis. That was clever. The Bengals will now have this game tied at 21. Can their defense keep them in it? 1st and 10 from the 34-yard line. Jim Hart looking for Otis. Overthrows him, and it's intercepted by Tommy Casanova. All-time great name. And he's going to run it back again. 2nd pick 6 of the game for the Bengals. Their 4th defensive touchdown in 2 games. They lead again, 28-21. What can St. Louis do now? It's 3rd and 7. Jim Hart is going to look for Mel Gray. Who else? They defend the pass. The Bengals get the ball back, 3rd and 10. If they can get this, it might be over. They're just going to go to Isaac Curtis, and he makes the catch. They run out the clock, and another come-from-behind victory by the Bengals. 28-21 in thrilling fashion. They win the game. Looking at the map, let's just go ahead and get the obvious out of the way. The Bengals are going to take over the Cardinals' land, expand their territory. They may win this imperialism. They may not. Either way, they've made a statement like no other, and I can only imagine that some of you out there might not be Bengals fans, but you might be rooting for this team. After all that excitement, it's easy to forget there's only 7 teams remaining. The Broncos get called on. That's going to the northeast. We're trying to hit the Vikings territory here to get a game, but that's going to hit Montana. So the Broncos, again, are going to expand. We're trying to get some of these teams that haven't been on the field, and that might be the Browns, but that is just going to clip into the Steelers. Arrow goes northeast, a little bit of a photo finish here. We see that arrow is going to connect with the Patriots territory before it hits the state of Maine. So the Patriots will get on the field for the first time, and they'll be hosting the champion Steelers. The score of this game was respectable until the fourth quarter, but the game never really was. Pittsburgh wins the game 41-0, but they also held the Patriots' offense to under 100 total yards. That is the steel curtain coming down on you. Now with this win, the Steelers will officially have eliminated all the teams out of the Northeast. The Patriots are done, the Steelers pick up their territory, and except for a small border with the Browns right now, are kind of in isolation. We're down to 6 teams, 3 of whom have yet to see the field. We're going back to the Bengals. They're heading northwest. That's going to send them to Minnesota. This could be the Bengals' biggest test of all. Can they do it? Let's find out. The Vikings force a 3-and-out, then promptly drive the ball down to the field. From the 9-yard line, the pitch goes to Chuck Foreman, gets around the edge and into the end zone for the touchdown. The Vikings take an early 7-0 lead, and believe it or not, those were the winning points. Unbelievable what happened here. The Vikings absolutely dominated this game, winning by a final score of 35-0. So the Bengals had the most heartwarming run I think we've seen in any Imperialism to this point. Unfortunately, you've got to win to move on. The Vikings will take over the Bengals territory, and even though that was their first game this season, they've proven in the past how good they can be, especially with that defense. They are a definite threat to win it all. We're now 4 games away from crowning a 1975 Imperialism champion. Wheel lands on the Broncos, they're going to head west, and once again they're going to expand. This time they're heading into the state of Oregon. The wheel is going to give us the Broncos one more time. Can we get them on the field? Yes, we can. That goes into the southeast. That's going to hit the Vikings territory. So now Denver's got to play, and it's got to be in Minnesota. The Broncos led this game 7-0, but that's not where we are now. In the fourth quarter, Fran Tarkenton fires. Diving touchdown catch by none other than John Gilliam, making the score 35-13. That is going to be our final. Denver held on for a little while, but couldn't get there in the end. So looking at this map now, we are down to our final 4, as the Vikings will take the Broncos out. We have the reigning champion Steelers, perennial contender Rams, perennial contender Vikings, and the Browns. And from that final 4, our wheel will give us the Vikings. Arrow's going to go to the southwest. Even late in the game here, we can get some expansions. The Vikings will go into Kansas. We're going to get the Vikings one more time, and we're going to go southwest one more time, which means we're going to expand one more time. This time into the state of Oklahoma. Might we get Minnesota 3 times in a row? Nope, that wheel slowed down to the Browns. A slightly southeast arrow. Intuitively, it looks like they're going to have to go play Pittsburgh. But that slight dip in the arrow, combined with the slanted border, means Cleveland's actually going to be heading in to face the Vikings. And there's nothing to see here. The undermanned and late to the party Browns stood no chance going into Minnesota in this game. 40-3 will be our final. Let's take a look at the map here. First and foremost, let's get the Browns off of it. They haven't done anything this entire season. They sat there and they made it to the semifinals. The Vikings, they weren't forced into the game until late either, but they've won the last 3 games played and have done so by a combined score of 110-16. And they're going to be playing a 4th game in a row. Based on the way the map is set up here, the Steelers and the Rams will not be able to play each other until the championship. So the question is, which team will wait and which team will play the Vikings? Let's see how we proceed to the championship game. Wheel goes to the Steelers, arrow goes slightly northwest. That's definitely going to pass through Canada and some Great Lakes, but it's going to land on the Vikings' territory. And after taking out the Browns, the Vikings and Steelers do own a border. So that's going to be our next game. The winner will go to the championship game where they're going to face the Los Angeles Rams. The Steelers only trail by 6 in the fourth quarter. John Gilliam in for the injured Terry Bradshaw. Throws to John Stallworth. It's intercepted. That's Bobby Bryant making a huge play for his team. From here, the Vikings have little trouble moving the ball. Fran Tarkenton takes a QB sweep around the left side. And the next play, in the same formation, pass goes deep to Jim Lash. Makes a diving reception, also a first down. Very next play, from the 37, Tarkenton holds it, looks, fires for John Gilliam, makes the catch, gets away for the touchdown. The Steelers look like they had a chance to take the lead. Now they're down by 13. The wheels fell off from here. Minnesota wins the game 32-10. So here is our situation. We have two teams remaining. The Los Angeles Rams and the Minnesota Vikings. We have completed 9 imperialisms to this point. The Vikings have appeared in the championship game 4 times. The Rams had appeared 3 times, but never did they face each other. Now, in their 5th and 4th appearances respectively, they will. The Rams are looking to win it for a 2nd time, the Vikings for a 3rd. All we have to do now is spin that wheel and find out who's attacking whom. Here now is that spin of the wheel. It's going to land on the Rams. That means they're going to be attacking Minnesota. The last 5 games of 1975 imperialism will be played in Minnesota. The Vikings won the last 4. Can they win the 5th? On their first drive of the game, the Rams get down to the 33-yard line. Play action pass from James Harris to Ron Jesse's overthrown, intercepted by Paul Krause, able to return it back to around the 20, snuffing out that drive. The Vikings now take the ball, drive down past the 30. Fran Tarkenton scans the field, finds his tight end Stu Voigt, runs past the 10, down at the 6-yard line. Now it's 2nd down. Tarkenton takes the snap. Here comes Jack Youngblood. Gets the sack, forces the fumble. Who's going to land on this? It's going to be the Rams. So both teams have scoring opportunities, but these great defenses make stops. Vikings get the ball again. They're inside the 15. Tarkenton throws a perfect pass to Jim Lash. Catches it at the 2. Very next play, they're going to pitch it out to fullback Ed Marinero, and he drags his way into the end zone for the touchdown. What a tough run, and we've broken through on the scoreboard. Vikings lead 7-0. The Rams now have crossed midfield again. Very little time left in the second quarter. The pitch goes to Lawrence McCutcheon, picks up a lot of yards, gets the Rams into field goal range, but they're going to run a play. Jeff Simeon breaks through on the blitz to get the sack. Can the Rams get a playoff? 2-1. No, time expires. 7-0 at the half. Now in the second half, the Rams have the ball at the 36. Harris flips it to McCutcheon, breaks a tackle but can't quite get to the first down. They will try the field goal. Tom Dempsey does make it. Now it's 7-3. The Vikings deep in their own territory. Jack Youngblood comes in, gets another sack of Fran Tarkenton, and he will take him out of the game. Backup Bob Lee is going to come in. Now the Vikings were able to sustain this drive, and they've gotten past midfield. Lee in shotgun has all day, floats a perfect pass to John Gilliam. What a throw that was. Now it's 2nd down. The pitch goes to Chuck Foreman, heading for the end zone. He hurdles his way in. What a run by Foreman. The extra point's going to make it 14-3. Do the Rams have enough offense against this Vikings defense to come back? They're again at the 31. Harris gets sacked. They're going to bring Dempsey out for a 58-yard field goal. He does hold the NFL record at this point in time. It's got just enough leg, but it's no good. And that is all she wrote. It's a low-scoring game. These were two great defenses, but the Vikings get the win 14-3. And we've seen this map before. They did it in 1969. They did it in 1970. After a hiatus, here in 1975, the Vikings once again, for the third time, win imperialism and take over the United States of America. Super Bowl X in 1975 was played between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Dallas Cowboys, a game which the Steelers won. The Steelers, Rams, and Vikings were our top three teams in 1975 according to our rankings. They all made the final three, but as we know, our champions were the Vikings, and for the third time, our runners-up were the Rams. Now for the third time, let's take a look at a different roster that has won imperialism for the Minnesota Vikings. Here in 1975, they have Fran Tarkenton, who for a period played for the New York Giants. He's since returned and helped this team win. As is usually the case, they're balanced all the way across, and they're especially strong on the offensive line, led by Mick Tingelhoff at center. Looking now at the defense, before we go anywhere else, I do want to acknowledge that I mispronounced Jeff Seaman's name, called him Simeon, unfortunately, during the highlights, but he was clearly a great player and I should have got his name correct. A lot of similar names here: Eller, Page, Marshall, Hilgenberg, Kraus. What a defense. During this era of football, I know some of you younger fans might not believe this will always be true, but defense does win championships. Our scores from 1975 unfortunately show a dearth of close games. Only 3 games were decided by 1 score or less. That said, there was some excitement, especially involving the Bengals during the second half when they won games against the Cowboys and Cardinals in back-to-back weeks. But the last 5 games were all won at home by the Vikings. They were called into action late, but when they were called in, they took care of business. The 75 season saw fewer teams winning games and even fewer winning multiple games. The Vikings topped the list at 5-0, all 5 games at the end again, but it was the Bengals who surprised all by winning 5 games themselves. The Cowboys continue to maintain their lead in the overall standings despite only winning imperialism once. This is partially the result of beating up on some lesser teams. The Vikings scoop back up into second place overall. They are first place when it comes to win percentage. We look down at the bottom. The Falcons are still down there tied for the worst record, but they got off the schneid and got their first win. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. This was our 10th imperialism video, and we couldn't be prouder. If you would please take a moment, just a moment, to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. And in doing so, please don't forget to click on that bell so you don't miss out on any future videos we may do. Imperialism is our main series, but we have other content on the channel as well, including stuff from the sports and entertainment worlds. If you're watching this video as it's coming out, this is the point in time where we usually let you know that in a few days we'll come out with the next video. We're going to take a short hiatus this time around. Instead of 4 or 5 days, it might be a couple of weeks, but we will come out with 1976 at that time, and we will be with 2 new NFL teams as the Seattle Seahawks and Tampa Bay Buccaneers began play during 1976. Every completed imperialism season is linked down in the description below, and if you happen to be watching this at some point in the future, then every video that we have posted to date is also down there. Before we sign off, we want to take one last look at the purple rain that has descended over the United States of America. For the third time, the Minnesota Vikings have won imperialism on the backs of their once-in-a-generation defense. Thank you everybody for watching this video, for getting as far as you did. We look forward to seeing you again in the future, as we look forward to presenting more videos in the future. Thank you and have a great day.